The fucking Philadelphia 76ers are 4-0. We also could possibly have the most explosive backcourt in the NBA. Joel Embiid is on a minutes restriction. And there are still good players coming down the pike for the Sixers. Let's talk about it. Obviously, I did not expect this start from the Philadelphia 76ers. 4-0. They are fun. They are a breath of fresh air right now. And I could easily talk about, right off the bat, just the backcourt of VJ Edgecomb and Tyrese Maxey. But I'll talk about Edgecombe in the backcourt a little bit later. I actually want to start off this Sixers video just highlighting Tyrese Maxey, who is driving this all. And I am just so happy for Tyrese Maxey. Ridiculous start to the season, 37.5 points, 47% shooting from three on over 9 attempts per game. His playmaking has taken a leap. He is still an above-average defender after taking a leap on that end last year. He really deserves this type of season, especially after what he went through last year. And just to go through the timeline really quick, because think about this. Maxey has basically had 3 different lives in his NBA career. He comes in as a rookie, on a contender, barely playing, finally gets minutes at the end, ends up being a crucial player in a Game 6 for the 76ers that forces a Game 7. So he had to figure his way out as a rookie, trying to get minutes on a contending team. Then the Ben Simmons thing happens the very next year, and Maxey is all of a sudden thrusted into the starting guard spot. Also a Shake Milton ankle injury in training camp. Also gave Doc, the leeway to start Maxey, because if that didn't happen, I don't think Doc starts him. And Maxey takes off as the lead ball handler in his second year until James Harden comes along halfway through that season. Then Maxey gets regulated back to being the off-ball, on-ball combo type of guard. And then the next year, in the 22-23 season, where the Sixers are a stone cold, everybody was penciling them in as a contender, Maxey has the starting job again. And then he gets hurt, and he basically gets demoted to the bench, and Doc Rivers lied to the media saying that he had talked to Maxey about it, and it was very clear Maxey and Doc Rivers did not have that conversation, and Doc lied on his name. Then Maxey earns his way back to the starting lineup, is fantastic in the playoffs. Then the Harden drama happens, and then next year he is thrusted back into being the lead guard for the 76ers, while Joel Embiid is averaging 36, 11, and 6 assists a game before his meniscus injury. Then Joel Embiid goes down. Tyrese Maxey has to figure how to be the number one option while dealing with the most defensive attention he's ever had in his career. Then last year, the Sixers are expected to be a stone-cold contender. Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. You bring in Caleb Martin. The season instantly goes to hell. 3-14 start. Even Maxey, he made improvements last year. Especially, he started off really slow, and then right around February, he started playing better and rounding into form and making improvements. All year last year, he improved as a defender. But offensively, and just demeanor-wise, he had to figure stuff out, and I don't think he handled last season the best that he could. And just think about it, as a rookie, he was coming in playing on winning teams, and now all of a sudden this is happening. He's complaining to the refs more. He's a little bit more snippy. He's in a bad mood a lot more. That smile that we always love with Tyrese Maxey, his smile wasn't there as much. And over the summer, it was just clear that Tyrese Maxey had one goal. We are not doing this shit again. And he backed it up. I have a quote from Tyrese Maxey from Media Day, and I am going to spend a little bit more time talking about Maxey because I absolutely adore him. He's one of my favorite Sixers. But the quote from Media Day, and he had basically said it through Media Day, through training camp. Here's the quote. I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to accomplish is we need a standard. Like, this is who we are, no matter every single day, no matter who plays, no matter who doesn't play. When you see the Philadelphia 76ers, this is what you see. You're going to see that the team every single night, every single time you turn that TV on, every single time that you step foot in every arena that we're playing in, this is the team that you are going to get. And my God, he has backed it up. And Maxey's always been a hard worker. He's always been somebody that he has that motto, 1% better every day. We saw on draft night, which still is like a memory burned into my brain, about Maxey bawling his eyes out after he got drafted by the Sixers and saying the city will never regret picking him. And he's right. He has taken a leap. He is inching more towards the top 15. And I said it a long time ago, I'm not putting a ceiling on this kid, but he just keeps blowing my expectations out of the water. And this is Maxey's team now. It's a weird transition to watch, but this team has his personality. You could tell he took the young guys in like McCain, Edgecombe. The entire team was working out basically a month before training camp. They were doing 5-on-5 practices and stuff. And that's all driven by Tyrese Maxey, who is very clearly playing in a way where it's like, I am never fucking having the season that we had last year ever again. And he has had a bunch of experiences in his NBA career that have informed what his approach was going to be this season, and it's paid off in a big way. And now we can go to the other part of this suddenly explosive backcourt, the rookie VJ Edgecomb. His play the first few games has completely changed the calculus of the Sixers' future. I just can't believe how advanced he is already as an offensive player off the dribble. I can't believe it. We'll talk about just his solid play as an off-ball player anyway, which was kind of his profile coming out of Baylor. But some of the knocks on him coming out of Baylor were also the handle. Is he a good shooter off the dribble? And his finishing at the rim. And you could see some of the finishing at the rim troubles in Summer League a little bit, but the handle was already more solid than I had thought. But also he has had no problem finishing at the rim in preseason and so far in the first 4 games of the regular season. Also, what struck me about him and what is still striking me about him is that he's calm, cool, and collected, and he makes quick decisions, and he doesn't get fazed about any type of play, whether it's good or bad, right? Like in his first game against Boston, he has 34 points, and he's instantly, in preseason even, he is, running the offense. And Nick Nurse completely trusts him. And last year, there was a similar thing going on with McCain where during training camp, there was a lot of media buzz, a lot of media members talking about, Jared McCain. Jared McCain is turning heads at camp. Joel Embiid said in one media availability last year that Jared McCain was the best player in training camp. And we all thought that was bullshit, or okay, the hype train is getting out of control. Turns out Jared McCain was like that. There was a lot of stuff with VJ Edgecomb that was similar to Jared McCain coming out of training camp, which got me really fucking excited because in Summer League, I thought he was pretty good. And then, or in his 2 Summer League games at least, and then preseason, and now leading into here where the real games are happening, his offensive game is just so much more advanced than I thought. If you had told me before the season that Edgecombe was going to come out in the first 4 games and average 22 points, 6 rebounds, 5.5 assists on a 58% true shooting percentage, 43% from 3, while displaying already an off-the-dribble in-between game that I just did not see coming, I would absolutely take that fucking season, but I would also laugh at you because I wouldn't believe you. Like, this changes everything. Like, Nick Nurse has him running the offense. His feel for the game is very apparent. And he just, like I said, he makes quick decisions. He moves the ball. He'll have a shot, and instead of taking a contested 3, sometimes he'll just kick it out. He just has a really advanced feel for a rookie. It's not just that he has nuclear athleticism. It's functional athleticism, and he knows when to use it. And he already has the change of pace down. Like, this is stuff even rookie Russell Westbrook struggled with, right? And fast guys like that, De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Maxey, for example, always going 100 miles an hour because you have otherworldly physical gifts, right? Like your speed or your jumping ability. Edgecombe already has like a change of pace feel with his dribble. A few times he's run pick and rolls, he's getting the guy on his back hip. The way he flows into his floater, he has a floater game, he has a midi game, and he's patient, and he's not like rushing into these shots. And I feel like a lot of the shots he's taken has just come within the flow of the offense. VJ Edgecomb on the ball already has this really good feel, and his handle, it's solid. It's not perfect, but with his athleticism, you don't need a Kyrie level handle. If you just have a solid handle where you don't turn the ball over and you can just blow by people with your athleticism, man, VJ is special, man. I'm so happy that we have him on our team. I always wanted VJ or Trey Johnson, and I'm glad Daryl picked VJ because off the ball, he's already good off the catch from three. And because of his solid base off the catch now, where he's a solid catch and shoot three-point shooter, which was the case at Baylor, and then according to Sam Vecini, that was the case with VJ in his high school days. All of a sudden, this backcourt looks a lot more explosive. VJ has a big part in it now, especially with his ball handling and on the ball game now. And by the way, in his first 4 games is doing this against Derek White, against all that length on the Charlotte Hornets, Brandon Miller for a bit before he got hurt. LaMelo Ball was really good defensively in that game in particular. Like, the Hornets have length on the perimeter. And then VJ has 26, 7, and 8, I believe it was, against the Orlando Magic, with Jalen Suggs and Anthony Black hounding him the entire game. Like, he's doing special things, man. This particular backcourt, I feel like they share a lot of similar personality with him and Maxey, where they just let the work speak for itself. They work hard. They are cheery. They're bubbly. Jared McCain's this same way. Daryl Morey, he deserves... If there is one thing you cannot criticize Daryl Morey for, it's the draft. He's nailed the draft. That is not a debate. That is the one thing he is critic proof of. Like, drafting Maxey at 21, getting McCain at 16 in a draft that looks pretty bad, by the way, right now. And then getting VJ Edgecomb in what was supposed to be a 2-person draft. And I think Flagg, Harper, and Edgecomb are all going to be really great. They're going to be awesome. It's just a breath of fresh air. And then on top of that, this team just has grit. There's a fight to it. 3 of the wins were comeback wins where the Sixers were down double digits in the fourth quarter. The Magic one, that was the most surprising win because that was a wire-to-wire victory. The Sixers jumped out the gate. The lead got down to 2 at one point in the fourth, and we still won. I'm just so happy that we have VJ Edgecomb on this team. I think him and Maxey as the backcourt, when he started immediately, like, just everything's tracking up for him to be a really, really, really great player. Just his athletic ability, his feel for the game right now as a 20-year-old. As a 20-year-old, I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to see this develop over the next few seasons. And then that leads me into just the 4-guard thing. I can't wait to see it fully healthy. McCain, unfortunately, because the Sixers can't have nice things, hurt his thumb right before training camp. It's been about a month since that happened, and it looks like that type of injury is 4 to 6 weeks. So McCain's going to come back soon. But I can't wait to see him there because admittedly Maxey is playing a lot of minutes, and that's because outside of Maxey, there really isn't a point guard to set the table. Edgecombe can run some offense, but I don't think you want to put that much on his plate right now. Look at what Dallas is doing to Cooper Flagg. And then Quentin Grimes' handle is a little bit more shakier this year than last year. So I can't wait for McCain to come back. And I think people really forgot just how good Jared McCain was as a rookie. He was averaging like 15, 4, and 4, and then there was a stretch where he was averaging like 25 and 40% from 3. Having him back in that mix, and then just the youth and the athleticism that the Sixers have infused. Daryl Morey really did a great job changing his approach this offseason. If you look at the power forward spot, which is arguably our thinnest spot on the roster right now, he took flyers on young athletic players, guys with unique skill sets like Trendon Watford. He played yesterday against the Wizards, and you can immediately see how his skill set is going to fit with this team. Dominic Barlow got the starting nod because he just plays his ass off and gets offensive rebounds. As a Sixer fans will tell you this: when was the last time we saw someone like a Dominic Barlow that just crashes the glass like that's the only purpose in his life? How many times did the Knicks get offensive rebounds on us in that same way because of Josh Hart? And then Jabari Walker, I'm not going to lie, I really haven't enjoyed the Jabari Walker experience, but one thing I do like about him is that he plays hard and he grabs rebounds. Daryl Morey taking flyers on young athletic forwards like that just really has infused this team with a lot of pop and explosion. Adem Bona is getting more minutes now. Shout out to Adem Bona. He is going to play his ass off in the minutes that he plays, even if he has to get 5 fouls to do it. And then you look at the roster and it's like, oh, we have 4 guards that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And they do it in different ways. And now that you have multiple options juicing this offense, all of a sudden the Sixers have the #1 offensive rating. And the team is fast. It's fun. And that brings me to the final 2 points. I'm going to talk about Paul George first, then Joel Embiid. I think these two are connected, but I want to talk about Paul George a little bit first because, of course, now that the team is fun, it's fresh, it's 4-0, there are a lot of Sixer fans who have been sick of the Joel Embiid experience the last few years and obviously sick of the PG experience from last year. And then there's a lot of national media aggregator accounts that don't like Paul George and Embiid and are dying after every game asking for the team to trade them, which are people I don't take seriously, and I'll talk about that in a minute. My counter to that is, you know what would help a small team that's 25th in defensive rating and terrible at rebounding? You know what would help? You also know what would help a young developing backcourt? A wing and a big. I don't understand the confusion from everybody about what the Sixers should do with Paul George and Joel Embiid. I don't understand why people think that they aren't just going to fit into what's been happening. They make it seem like they're going to be tyrants and try to fuck up the vibes or whatever. And that just, to me, that just couldn't be any further from the truth. And the truth is, Paul George would help this team. I know that he didn't have the best year last year, but up until about January, up until that Bulls game where he hurt his pinky, he still had it defensively. That was very clear. And the shots he was missing were wide ass open. There were shots that I would have wanted Paul George to take. And then Nick Nurse would have him do some ISO stuff, which I fucking hated. And then after the Bulls game, and then after when everybody started getting hurt, Joel got his knee surgery, and then Maxey obviously had the finger issue. And once the injuries started piling up, you could tell Paul George's effort just wasn't there, and he was playing with a fucked up pinky. Paul George is still a good player, and he is a helpful player to this team. Like, I don't know how you can watch these first 4 games and think otherwise, considering that Nick Nurse has been starting Dominic Barlow, who I like, and the Sixers should convert his 2-way contract, but you could definitely see where Paul George would fit if he starts at the 4, or if you take out Oubre and he starts at the 3. Or the 3-guard lineups, that's more viable when you have someone like Paul George out there who's a 6'9", 6'10" wing, who can kind of cover a little bit of everything. It's not like he's going to come in there and demand touches. I think what's happening here is that there is a clear transition from, this being everything centered around Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey on the side to where everything is now centered around Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid takes a back seat a little bit. Paul George takes a back seat a little bit. They're still very important to the franchise, especially Embiid, who I will talk about in a second. But you know what a team could do? It could keep all of its good players. Like, you could keep all the good players. They're doing it right now. They just need to get on the court. Or Paul George at least needs to get on the court, because he can help. He's not going to be, asking for the ball at the elbow and shit like that. This is Tyrese Maxey's team. Nick Nurse and the coaching staff probably understand this shit's going through the guards mostly, and Embiid on his minutes restriction. And Paul George is going to have to find a way to fit in. And he has done that his whole career. From being a star at Indiana to playing off of Russell Westbrook to playing off of Kawhi to then playing off of Kawhi and James Harden. And also, Paul George really doesn't have a long leash with Philadelphia 76er fans. 76er fans are loving the fuck out of this team. And I think Paul George is smart enough to know that I'm under contract here for a long time, We didn't have the season we wanted last year. It seems like the entire team hated the season that they had last year. Even the two 30-plus-year-old stars. And I think Paul George realizes that, and I think he's just going to fit in. And that brings me to the big fella as well. I guarantee you there is nobody more happier for Tyrese Maxey than Joel Embiid. The guy who gave Maxey the franchise nickname, because he knew. Maxey has repeatedly talked about how Embiid was the first person that believed in him as a rookie when Embiid was in the prime of his career, finishing top 2 in MVP voting, has encouraged Maxey the whole way. They're legit friends, like best friends. And you saw that last year when ESPN had that report about Maxey calling out Embiid in the locker room in front of the team. You think Maxey could be able to do that if they didn't have some type of equity in their friendship? Like, no. And Embiid is now in the very interesting point in his career where it's a little bit rough defensively right now. And if you're somebody who loves Joel Embiid, like just seeing people realize that they can go at him at the rim, it's kind of rough to watch. His whole thing is he's not only a menace at the rim, people just don't take shots at the rim, and people are just attacking him in the paint. I think a lot of it is he doesn't have confidence in his knee. He's not jumping. He's not moving as fast laterally. And I think some of that is he doesn't really have the same lift that he has anymore in that knee. And I think a lot of it is he just doesn't have the confidence right now to jump even without fear of getting hurt. Because offensively, he looks 85, the last 2 games especially, he's looked 85% there in a minutes restriction. He's averaging, the last 2 games, he's averaged over a point a minute. And like what happened when Nurse first started coaching the team, Joel Embiid has improved as a playmaker. And so those 2 things are still happening. It's just the other end that makes it really rough. He's not the same rebounder, and he was never like an elite rebounder to begin with. But when you don't have that same lift, you don't make the extra like jump to the other side to recover and get a nice block. You don't jump as high when you're doing verticality. You don't put enough force in your knee to jump up so you don't get moved at the rim. Like, you could tell he's finding himself right now. But the people who don't like Embiid, they're just dying for the Sixers to move on so they could just exclusively watch Maxey and Edgecombe. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, one, you shouldn't be taken seriously. No one's going to trade for Embiid and Paul George. Not on those contracts. So what else is there to do? Hope that Joel Embiid can figure out how to play with a knee condition for the rest of his career, and hope that Paul George can stay on the court for long stretches. And yeah, they're big what ifs, especially with Paul George, I think, more than Embiid low-key, because I think Embiid is going to try to play as many games as possible. He clearly prepared more this season. He's lost weight and all that stuff. Now it's about getting back in game shape, and he's always been a slow starter at the beginning of seasons. But if there is a world where his 20-minute restriction is now 25, 28 to 30 minutes a game, and Nick Nurse can use Embiid more in a normal rotation, and in a lot of cases where he's closing games, because right now Embiid is not closing these games, then I think the Sixers can really start cooking. I think there is a way to blend this all in, and people are just tossing that out the window when they don't realize that every rep is important. And if you want this team to reach its maximum ceiling this year, whether that's get out the first round or hell, make a surprise deep playoff run, that doesn't happen unless those 2 guys are on the court. Like, this is all fun right now, but quite frankly, some of this is unsustainable. Maxey can't play this many minutes. Edgecombe is going to hit a rookie wall at some point. You're only going to get by so long when you're thin at the power forward spot. Like, the rotation is good. The team's better. It's a more fun play style. But some of this is unsustainable, and some of this is there are clear holes on this roster right now that can be fixed with a good big man and a good wing. And I think people are just freaking out that Embiid just will refuse to fit in when everything else that has been put out in public and stuff like that indicates otherwise. Even if you have leadership questions about Embiid and all that shit, there's nobody more happier for this backcourt than Joel Embiid. He loves VJ Edgecomb. He loves Tyrese Maxey. And like with Paul George, Embiid probably doesn't have a choice in a lot of instances. He probably doesn't want to leave Philly anyway, and he knows that not a team is going to trade for that contract. And so he's obviously putting the work in to salvage this and not be as injured as last year. And I appreciate that from him. And if he ends up becoming like the second best player on the team, or one of those arbitrary arguments we always have where it's like, well, Embiid's the most impactful, but Tyrese Maxey, he's the face of the team. If Embiid gets back to that point, then it really starts getting fun for me. But right now, this is fun. This is a breath of fresh air. And at this point, it's like with my San Francisco 49ers, who are also dealing with fucking crazy injuries the last few years. You just know you're going to go into the season with a bunch of young guys, and you just let the chips fall where they may, and hope that it's going to be more fun than last year. And so far, it is. It's been fucking awesome.